reason why I've been with NEMSCA for 17 years, why Victoria's been with NEMSCA, and a lot of our staff and leadership is we believe in our mission. And we truly want to empower people to live the best life they can, however that might look. And we'll go into, on the next page, a couple of our programs that we offer. But on page 6, we have some data points that might be of interest to you here in Cheboygan County. You can see a breakdown of the number of individuals we served by county in the last fiscal year, and then below that, the clients that we provided support and programs for by age. And you can see very clearly on that graph at the bottom of the page that by far we provide the largest support for our most vulnerable population that falls under the age of 5 or our senior citizens. Because what makes us unique is that we are also designated as the Region 9 Area Agency on Aging. So that division that provides all that support to our senior citizens in our area actually falls under the NEMSCA umbrella. So that's why you see so many numbers that are of the senior population and what the support is that we provide to them. On page 7, we go through an impact by our numbers. So it's just, I pulled kind of randomly when I put this report together a couple months ago, some numbers about how much support we've provided in our agency over the last fiscal year. So you can see almost 2,000 children were enrolled in our early childhood services. Over 5,300 were part of our students assisted in School Success Partnership Program. Almost 8,000 people served in our aging population. 681 individuals that were assisted into the water program and so on and so forth. But a total of 14,213 individuals were served in the last fiscal year. That's an unduplicated count. So that's how far our reach is when it comes to providing programs and support for people in need. Now, that data is very important when we're talking about our impact in the community, but if you move on to the next page, you can talk, it shows a little bit more about the impact by our connections with other nonprofit organizations, with public entities, with our elected officials, and that support that they provide to us is overwhelming. In fact, Victoria and I were in Lansing last week, and we had some of our clients that were being acknowledged and recognized at the state level for their impact that they've had in that program that they were in. And also we had Representative Cam Cabot was one of our for the whole state, 2 elected officials that were recognized as Legislator of the Year when it comes to supporting our agency. So we were very excited to have Representative Cabot, as we know that he's our local person of the year that was acknowledged from the state level. To the right on page 9, it talks a little bit more about the impact by stories, right? So numbers are very important, but to understand that every one of those numbers is a story is what makes our organization so meaningful. The next couple pages is the explanation of how we're funded. So on the left side, so on page 10, it talks about how we're funded. So just over 53% is federal support. Just over 40% is state share in various contracts, and the remaining is local and in-kind. You can see the graph below that. This is the first time that I chose to include that in the annual report. Shows the growth over time for our funding sources in the last few years. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we've received more funding per program. It means that we've been able to create more programs that help people in need. For example, the water program is only, 2 years old, something like that. So we're able to provide that support to our vulnerable population. On page 11, it gives the expenditure breakdown. So this shows where that money is going back out into the community. So you can see very clearly on that graph that by far, once again, our largest division is early childhood. That makes up just over 51% of our budget. And that goes into Head Start, Early Head Start, and Great Start Readiness Program. And then you can see the breakdown from some of our other various programs as well. But what I like to always bring to everybody's attention is you see that 3.66%, that is our indirect rate, which is otherwise known as an administrative rate. It's a very low percentage when we compare it to other community action agencies or even other nonprofit public sector agencies. That means that over 96 cents of every dollar that we receive goes right back out into supporting that program, and it's a very minimal amount of administrative that we call our overhead. So the last page just talks a little bit about why we're here today and the different programs we have, and then also some feedback from our staff that we've had in the past. So I guess, short Can I answer any questions for you?
Mr. Chair, if I may, going back to page 6.
Yep.
What is the water program?
What is the water program? Well, I'm going to defer to Victoria because that actually falls under her division. So you want to talk a little bit about the water program? Sure.
I'm up here, kind of a quiet voice. My name is Victoria Purvis. I'm the Housing Stability Director. So I oversee our water and sewer program. So that is a program that has been with our agency for the last 2 years, and that is to help low-income individuals be able to pay their water. So whether their water is behind or they're unable to pay it, we can put a credit on their bill up to $3,000 for that. So water and septic.
Thank you. And then my other question is on page 5.
Yep.
I see Alpena County number of individuals, 1921, Iosco 1765, and Cheboygan 852. Can you explain why there's such a range of double?
Yeah, I was kind of anticipating that question because Cheboygan is a larger county.
Yeah.
So I would say there's probably not one definitive answer to that. One thing I could say is that I do believe that even though we're making strides and efforts to make sure that people are aware of what programs are available, I still think that we can do a better job with that in making sure that our community members up here in Cheboygan County and other counties are aware of the 30 to 35 programs that they potentially could be eligible for. Now, with that being said, most of our programs are income-based, right? So there's a very clear line of what makes somebody eligible or not eligible. Not all of them, but most of them are. So that could be part of it, is that maybe somebody is interested in our programs, but maybe is not eligible based on our grant requirements. But I also would like to say to this board, if you know of any other ways that we could get the word out, please let us know about what our programs are that are available to the community. I don't know if, Rich, if you have anything to add on to that about why you think maybe that number might be lower than what we would anticipate.
Well, just to your point there, I think a lot of it is to the poverty level, and unfortunately Northeast Michigan has a little higher levels of eligible users too over there. And
where I was going with this though is, I just wonder, and I think a lot of it is educating the public.
Yeah.
Because our poverty levels here in Cheboygan County are quite high also,
Right.
percentage of population. But is there a way, Jeff, or maybe it's already on there, we could put this information or at least something on our webpage so people,
That's a
I
good
think,
idea.
you know, no local paper publication anymore. I think maybe just getting the word out is maybe
Yeah.
helping.
That's a great idea, and I can get you any information you might have. Also, too, there's a couple new things that are happening. I know for a while, Cheboygan was not operating what's called a human services collaborative meeting. For whatever reason, that had stopped, and I believe that's starting back up again, which means that we'll have NEMSCA representation at those meetings to talk about our programs as well. So that's a push in the right direction. And if there's anything else that you can think of, we have outreach staff. Amanda Bergeron, who has presented to this board the last, I think, couple years, our annual report. She's our community resource manager, and her and our other teammate are the ones that attend like outreach events, do presentations, things like that. So we would be more than happy if you know any organizational groups that would like to hear more about our programs. You can always get a hold of me and we can set that up as well for community awareness and education.
also, and some other of the impacts that you don't see the numbers, like, for example, we bought the West Side School, you know, I mean, federal money, you know, different money with there, so there's a lot of that, there's other things happening, you know, from them, you know, like spending money in the flow, but not as much number of cases, but we could work on getting those numbers up.
Yeah.
Once again, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
I was just getting the word out.
Yeah, I appreciate that
And
question.
so if you could have your outreach person or persons contact our administrator and figure a way to
Sure.
put something on that webpage. Because I think that's the
Sure.
way people around here communicating more is online, so.
Sure.
But thank you, very good report, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To tap on to what Commissioner Claremont has brought up. Is there any synergy between your organization and 211? Because I think during our most recent natural catastrophe here in Cheboygan County, we've seen they have one annually. I think our communities finally recognized the service that 211 provides, and I know a lot of people wound up calling 211, and I'm glad that Cheboygan County has been a part of the 211 program since it was put in place. This board made the decision to include Cheboygan County in that. I would hope there would be some communication so that, I think our citizens are gonna call 211 before they ever think of calling you. So if there could be some synergy there where your services are described, you know, or 211's telling them, directing them to you, I think that would be very beneficial. Very much support Commissioner Claremont's idea of putting a link to this on our website, because this is a communication problem. I do believe the poverty in Cheboygan County might be less than it is in Alpena County. However, that number, there's a lot of disparity in that number.
Sure.
And I want to make sure that, you know, as my fellow commissioners do, that our citizens are aware of the services that we provide. And the last thing, I'd like to say this for the benefit of the public that's sitting here, because it's an interesting number. I can get this to come back up. And that's how your programs are funded. And that's 41 million from the feds, 31 million from the state, and 4 million in like-kind and local contributions. That's less than or right at 5% of your funding comes locally, but yet all of your services are provided locally. So it's unique, it's backwards, it's not normally this way.
Right.
So I think it's important that the community understands that our price tag here is very, very little for what you deliver. Thank you.
You're welcome. And can I respond to your 211, because you're at
Please.
So I'm not sure if she still is, but I know for many years our CEO, executive director, was on the board of 211 of Northeast Michigan. And then Amanda, the person that I told you about, that's the outreach person, also has a very close relationship with our local staff at 211 up here. And so for the community to go to 211 first is ideal, right? Because, like, once again, 211 knows and has all the information. This last natural disaster that happened, we were referring people to go to 211 because they had the most up-to-date information. We would share what we could, but it changed so quickly about warming shelters, about this, about that, that we referred people actually to 211 because they had the most up-to-date information. So, I mean, it's a very complex, you guys know as a board, like 211 is a very complex organization that has a lot of things to keep organized, for lack of saying organization place, but we've been working really hard with that partnership to ensure that they're able to refer as appropriately as possible. So.
Thank you for that. I think it's also important that the public be aware that our contribution, local contribution to 211 is a very small number. I remember as a commissioner making the motion to bring us into the 211 program. That's maybe been 5, 6, 7 years ago. And at that time, the cost was $6,000 to Cheboygan County. I'm not trying to discount the value of $6,000, but what it delivered for $6,000 I felt was remarkable. And it's proven itself. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Francis, you have an opportunity this morning to meet with Mr. Balance and see if you can straighten him out.
Yep, we're going to wait till the end of the meeting and then we'll be able to address any concerns he might have. So.
Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah.
For your report.
And again, I would like to thank that place. I enjoy serving with these folks. They're really good. As you pointed out, the value, I mean, I don't know how many boards you run that you administer less than 5% to administer a board. And the professionalism is pretty good. Off of that.
Thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
We're down to the administrator's report. That's page 33 on your iPad.
Okay, a couple items on vegetative storm debris. The contractor is, as of this morning, completed with chipping 3 sites of our 7 sites for the storm damage from last year's ice storm. We have been contacted by Lowell Township, who was requested originally, they didn't want to be considered for shipping. We did have them on our list originally, so we believe we could add a portion, similar to Burke Township would be right around 7,000 cubic yards. With that, with hauling, would be an estimated approximately $50,000 to $55,000 worth of shipping. We can pursue that, as I stated before, we will submit for reimbursement for all our costs, trying to get 75% back. But as I stated before, I can't guarantee that we'll get 75% back on this. So if it's okay with the board, we will pursue trying to arrange shipping for Aurora Township at Hollister Road and move forward with our other sites.
Do you need a motion for that, Jeff?
Consensus, that's it.
I would say yes.
Anybody opposed to that?
I'm in favor.
Okay, so you have it. Thank you, Board.
For Northern Water Solar Park LLC, again, was contacted the county requesting a meeting with Commissioner Wallace and the staff. That's been set up for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026. We will review their plan at that time and have an initial discussion. Once that's completed, we believe that application will be made to the PSC from Northern Water, which would require them to host a public hearing for the public. Again, as we stated in the last meeting, our intention is to file for intervenor funds for that project. Under material management plan, we continue to do the MCOG. This is primarily based on recycling in the county to complete our plan. The state has approved our initial first-year grant of $72,789.50. We'll get that agreement here shortly and put it on the agenda for board approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the administrator, for the board?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yep.
just a quick question in reference to the soil and water meeting on the 2nd. And Mr. Long, Joe Long brought up the repeal of Amendment 150. I would like to discuss that under board matters for discussion. But I'll say.
Okay. No old business, we're under new business. 9, zoning ordinance amendment 193, contractor's yard land use. That's 34 on your iPad, Board.
Don't see Mike here yet.
I don't either.
We'll just wait a few minutes. Administrator from that department.
Do I handle a couple other items?
Sure. We can move down to fairground event agreement, tractor and treats event, that's 54.
Yeah, this is a reoccurring event each year for tractors and treat event. Our recommendation is for the board to approve the dates of, again, October 3rd. Set up on October 3rd, sorry, and the event runs 9 through 11th, and then tear down on 12th.
I would make the motion to approve that, Mr.
I'll
Chair.
support.
Thank you, Dale. Rich, second. Any further questions or discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Warfield.
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace.
Yes.
Commissioner Eustace.
Yes.
Commissioner Newman.
Yes.
Commissioner Osmann.
Yes.
Commissioner Sangster.
Yes.
Commissioner Claremont.
Yes.
Thank you, Board, that's passed 7-0. Down to Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan Administrative Services Contract for the prisoners. That's 9C.
Morning, Commissioners. This is
Hi,
just
Sheriff.
a renewal of a contract that the Sheriff's Office has had for in excess of 12 years anyways. It allows Blue Cross Blue Shield to intervene on behalf of us to save us money if we have to take an inmate out of the facility to a hospital, to a doctor, to something that our in-house staff can't treat. We pay the Blue Cross Blue Shield rate versus letting the hospital
Chair, if I may, we've done this for many years, as Scott stated, and I would make the motion to approve. Support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. There's some questioning in Jeff Osman's mind, I believe.
Yeah, when does that take effect? I mean, like,
I believe it's,
no, I mean, like, when they first get in your custody, or?
only if they have to leave the facility. If they have to leave the facility, our administrative staff
Oh.
physically adds them to the Blue Cross Blue Shield
But not like
insurance.
on the road, when you, from the road to here?
No,
Okay.
they just cut that, if something happens then, they, our insurance, liability insurance, this is only for medical stuff that happens after they're in
I got
custody.
you. Okay.
So what happens is, our if our in-house nurse and doctor can't treat it, and they say they have to go out, our administrative staff, this contract allows us to add that inmate to the county's Blue Cross Blue Shield policy. So we add the inmate to the policy, take them to the hospital, get their treatment, and then they come back off the policy. But it assures that we get the Blue Cross rate versus outside, what do you call the circle,
Network.
yeah. But again, we've had for years. There's other companies that do it. There's Trinity Health and a couple other companies that offer it. But this is the safest, I'll say that. The other companies are embroiled in some lawsuits right now, so I wouldn't recommend looking at switching at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Okay, everybody straight on that? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Ostman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sangster,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Eustace,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace,
Yes.
Commissioner Warfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Claremont.
Yes.
Thank you, Board, that's carried 7.
Thank you.
We're down to, well, we see Mike's in the area now. We're back to A, zoning ordinance amendment 193. Mr. Turisk.
Good morning, Mr. Chair,
Howdy.
members of the board, members of the public. Firstly, I apologize for my lack of donning a suit and tie, which is sort of de rigueur when I present, but I am unexpectedly presenting on behalf of our planner this morning. So with that, I'll jump right in to the request. Per your packets, this is a request to amend the conditional land use that's associated with the conditional rezoning that was approved, I believe it was circa 2023. That original conditional rezoning had a distinct specific land use that would be allowed with that conditional rezoning, that for a manufacturing or light manufacturing facility. Conditional rezonings are intended to allow really only specific land uses and development limitations that are voluntarily offered by the applicant. And this is all per the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, okay? So, a prospective buyer of this property, by the way, this property is a little over 3 acres, it's about 3.3 acres, is located in Monroe Township. It is visible from I-75. The property is a triangular configured